What's up, Wrestling Zone family? Welcome back to the channel that brings you the biggest moments, the most shocking returns, and the legendary partnerships that define our sport. I'm your host, and today we're diving deep into what might be the most electrifying reunion in professional wrestling history. We're talking about Wrestlepalooza 2025, where lightning struck twice as Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman came together once again for that signature introduction that sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. But before we unleash the beast on this breakdown, smash that like button if you're ready for some Suplex City action, hit subscribe for the hottest wrestling content, and ring that notification bell because trust me, you don't want to miss what we're about to uncover. Let's set the stage, Wrestling Zone family. Wrestlepalooza 2025 was already shaping up to be one of the most anticipated events of the year. We had championship matches that could reshape entire divisions, grudge matches years in the making, and storylines converging in ways that had fans buzzing for months. But nobody, and I mean nobody, expected what happened during the main event build-up. For those who've been following the wrestling landscape over the past few years, you know the relationship between Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman has been complicated. After their last split, many thought we'd never see them together again. Heyman had moved on to other ventures, Lesnar was doing his own thing, and fans had accepted that one of wrestling's greatest advocate-client relationships was just a chapter in history books. But wrestling has a funny way of bringing people back together when the story demands it. Picture this, Wrestlepalooza 2025, main event time. The arena is packed to the rafters with over 75,000 screaming fans. The energy is electric, you can feel it through your screen. We're deep into what was supposed to be the final segment before the championship match when suddenly, and I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, the lights dim. That familiar silence falls over the crowd. You know the one. That moment when something big is about to happen and the entire wrestling universe holds its breath. Those 3 words. Just 3 words that immediately told every wrestling fan in that arena and watching around the world exactly what was about to unfold. Paul Heyman's voice, unmistakable and commanding, cuts through the silence like a sword through butter. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Paul Heyman, and I am the advocate for the reigning, defending, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. Now here's where it gets interesting, Wrestling Zone family. Heyman pauses, not his usual theatrical pause, but something different. Something that felt like he was savoring every single word that was about to come out of his mouth. The crowd is losing their minds because they know what's coming, but they can't quite believe it's really happening. And boom, the Beast Incarnate's music hits, and Wrestlepalooza 2025 just became legendary. Now, let's talk about why this moment was so much more than just a surprise return. Wrestling Zone family, this isn't just about 2 guys getting back together for a nostalgic pop. This reunion represents something deeper about the art of professional wrestling storytelling. Think about it, Brock Lesnar is an absolute physical specimen. The man is a legitimate fighter, a former UFC heavyweight champion, an NCAA wrestling champion, and someone who can legitimately beat up probably 99.9% of the human population. But here's the thing about Brock, he's never been the most comfortable on the microphone. Enter Paul Heyman. Heyman isn't just a manager or an advocate. He's a master storyteller, a genius at crafting narratives that make you believe every single word coming out of his mouth. When Heyman speaks, he doesn't just talk about his client, he creates mythology. He takes Brock Lesnar from being just another strong guy and transforms him into the Beast Incarnate, the Conqueror, the one in 21-1. Let's break down what makes Paul Heyman's introduction so special, because this isn't just about announcing someone's name. This is high-level performance art. First, there's the cadence. Heyman doesn't just speak, he conducts a symphony with his voice. Every pause is calculated, every emphasis is purposeful. When he says ladies and gentlemen, he's not just addressing the crowd, he's commanding their attention, demanding they stop everything they are doing and listen. Then there's the build-up. Heyman never rushes to the payoff. He layers each accomplishment, each accolade, each terrifying fact about Brock Lesnar like he's building a case in court. Which, in a way, he is. He's making the case for why Brock Lesnar is the most dominant force in professional wrestling. My name is Paul Heyman, establishing his credentials and authority, and I am the advocate for setting up the relationship and his role, the reigning, defending, establishing current dominance, undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, laying out the stakes. And then, the payoff, Brock Lesnar. But here's what made the Wrestlepalooza 2025 version so special. Heyman added new elements. He referenced their history together, acknowledged the time apart, and recontextualized their reunion as something that was always inevitable. Wrestling destiny, if you will. Wrestling Zone family, I've been to a lot of wrestling events, and I've seen a lot of crowd reactions. But what happened at Wrestlepalooza 2025 during this introduction was something else entirely. You had 75,000 people who knew exactly what was coming but were still completely blown away by the execution. Here's the beautiful thing about wrestling psychology: even when you know the beats, even when you can see the story coming, the right performers can still make you feel like you're experiencing magic for the first time. The crowd reaction went through distinct phases. What made this even more special was how Heyman played with the crowd's expectations. He drew out certain parts longer than usual, added new inflections, and made it feel both familiar and completely fresh at the same time. Now, let's talk about what this reunion means for the wrestling landscape. Wrestling Zone family, this isn't just about nostalgia or getting a cheap pop from the crowd. This reunion has serious implications for storylines, championship pictures, and the overall direction of professional wrestling. First, you have to consider what this means for Brock Lesnar's character. Over the past few years, we've seen different versions of Brock. Sometimes he's been portrayed as more of a straightforward competitor, sometimes as a hired gun, sometimes as a part-timer who shows up for big paydays. But with Heyman back as his advocate, we're returning to the mythical version of Brock Lesnar, the version that feels less like a wrestler and more like a force of nature. Second, think about what this does to the championship landscape. A Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman as his advocate isn't just another challenger, he's the final boss. He's the ultimate obstacle that champions have to overcome. Every promo becomes more intense, every match becomes more high stakes, because you have Heyman there to remind everyone exactly what they are up against. Let's geek out for a minute about the technical aspects of what made this moment so perfect. From a production standpoint, everything had to be absolutely flawless. The timing of the music, the lighting, the camera angles, every element had to work in harmony to create this moment. But beyond the technical production, there's the performance aspect. Paul Heyman is 60 years old, and he's been doing this for decades. The fact that he can still command a crowd like this, still make people believe in the magic of professional wrestling, is a testament to his skill as a performer. And then there's Brock himself. The man walked out to that introduction like he owned the building, like he owned the entire wrestling world. That's not something you can fake or teach. That's the presence of someone who genuinely belongs at the top of the wrestling mountain. Wrestling Zone family, what we witnessed at Wrestlepalooza 2025 was bigger than just professional wrestling. This was a masterclass in performance, in storytelling, in understanding your audience and delivering exactly what they need at exactly the right moment. In a world where entertainment often feels manufactured or focus grouped to death, Paul Heyman's introduction of Brock Lesnar felt genuine. It felt earned. It felt like two masters of their craft coming together to create something special. This is why we love professional wrestling. Yes, we know it's predetermined. Yes, we know it's entertainment. But when it's done right, when performers who truly understand their craft come together to create moments like this, it transcends entertainment and becomes art. So Wrestling Zone family, there you have it. The reunion that nobody saw coming but everybody needed. Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman together again, reminding us why their partnership is considered one of the greatest in wrestling history. Wrestlepalooza 2025 will be remembered for many things, but this moment, those few minutes when Paul Heyman took the microphone and reminded the wrestling world exactly who Brock Lesnar is and what he represents, will be talked about for years to come. What did you think of the reunion? Were you surprised? Did it give you goosebumps like it did me? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single one, and I love hearing your thoughts on these legendary wrestling moments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, show some love by hitting that like button. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you want more content like this. Subscribe if you haven't already. We're building the ultimate wrestling community here on Wrestling Zone 1, and I want you to be part of it. Ring that notification bell, because trust me, with moments like Wrestlepalooza 2025 happening in wrestling, you don't want to miss any of our coverage. We're going to keep bringing you the best analysis, the hottest takes, and the most comprehensive coverage of everything happening in the wrestling world. Until next time, Wrestling Zone family, keep watching, keep believing in the magic of professional wrestling, and remember, in wrestling, anything can happen, and usually does.